That's why I'm working through this in a very careful, cautious, methodical way so that we can get the best outcome so far as Australia is concerned.
So it's not a tender process
so that we can ensure that the responsibility of securing and defending this nation will continue into the future.
So it's not a tender process. It's not a tender process, as Sean Edwards has said.
What I'm saying is, and I'll
just a yes or no. Is it a tender process or not?
Sorry, I will use the words I choose to use. What we are doing is a competitive evaluation process. We have to evaluate this. We have to do it in a way which is methodical, cautious, that is a process that goes forward in the future. And obviously there has to be a competitive element to that.
But it's not a tender. It's not a tender process, Minister.
It is a competitive evaluation process.
Why did Sean Edwards say it was a tender process and that he was mouthing the words of the Prime Minister?
Look, there were various reports in the media using all sorts of different words.
What he said.
I'm the Defence Minister. I am deciding the way in which we go forward with this, and the way in which we're going forward with this is a competitive evaluation process.
So what have you actually promised today that is any different from what has been promised or not promised here before?
Well, as the new Defence Minister, I have spent the last few weeks looking at this in detail and decided the way in which we should go forward with this, particularly following my last visit here to Adelaide, was to ensure that there is an evaluation process and one which is competitive. Now, can I add to that what we want to see is a sustainable industry, defence industry in Australia into the future. And one of the biggest problems we face is that the previous government, by not making decisions, by delaying decisions about this project in particular for 6 years and ripping $16 billion out of the defence budget, have made these decisions much more difficult. I understand that. I understand the concern that people in South Australia might have about these issues, but I can assure them that we're going to work through this in a careful way, and as part of that careful working through, then places such as the ASC here in Adelaide can be assured that in that evaluation their views and the way in which they might approach this can be taken into account.
Where did the term competitive evaluation process come from? Is it from Defence or did it come from the Prime Minister's office?
No, look, I'm not going to get into all sorts of...
Defence says that they've never heard that term before.
I'm not going to get into all sorts of definitions and what's a definition and what of that is. I'm saying, as the Australian Defence Minister, this is the approach that we are taking. I came here, as I said, a few weeks ago. I was delighted with the tour that I had then. I've continued to have talks with my officials in Defence and the military and others, including my South Australian colleagues, some of whom are here today, including the South Australian opposition and Stephen Marshall and Dan Van Holst-Pelican. And as a result of that, what I'm announcing is a competitive evaluation process, and we will continue to progress this in the coming weeks and months.
So there's still likely to be an international partner? When will you come to a conclusion?
We will do that and make the decision that's right. I mean, the idea that a decision which is going to have ramifications for the national security of Australia, the defence of Australia for the next half century, can I stress that? Decisions that we take now are going to have ramifications in terms of the defence capability of this country for the next half century, beyond the lifetime of probably most of the people actually standing around here today. That's an important, serious matter which we have to deal with in a very sound and serious way. And we're not going to be rushed into making decisions. We're going to do it in a careful, cautious, methodical way.
So just confirming what Sean Edwards said on Sunday about an open tender process is incorrect.
I'm not a commentator. What I'm doing is saying to you and to everybody who may be listening to me now that the process that we are going to undertake is going to be a competitive evaluation process. I'm here saying that in Adelaide at the Australian Submarine Corporation as an indication that so far as Australian industry in this area is concerned, that they can have a role in this, but there are criteria which will be spelt out in more detail as we work through them, and they will go to primarily the capability, the defence capability that this country must have in the future, because that's my prime responsibility, and indeed it's one of the most profound responsibilities of any national government.
How does Australia measure up to that?
So capability is an important factor, but there are also cost and schedule and other issues that have to be looked at, including the technical issues. They are complex issues and we will work through them carefully. Thank you.